Good evening and welcome to the August 17th, 2020 regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council. First item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask our City Attorney, Lynn Board, to lead us in the pledge this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was a quick version, Lynn. I found myself struggling to keep up, but it was good. It was. Other than that, it was great. Next item on our agenda is reflection. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you all very much. Next on our agenda, we have approval of minutes. Tonight we have two sets of minutes. The first being from Monday, July 20th, 2020. What is the pleasure of the council? Mike.
I'll move approval of the minutes from the regular session on Monday, July 20th.
Rob.
Second.
Okay, I will call the roll. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Wu.
Aye.
And Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
All right. Next, we have the minutes from the joint work session on July 27th. What is the pleasure of the council? Neil.
I move approval of the minutes from the joint work session of Monday, July 27th, 2020.
Rob.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Wu.
Aye.
Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
Okay, carries unanimously. Next on our agenda, we have confirmation of appointments. Tonight we have appointments to Educational Enrichment and Community Advisory Committees. What is the pleasure of the council? Rob Wu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move approval of your resolution of City Council confirming an appointment and reappointment made by the mayor to the Community Advisory and Educational Enrichment Committees. To the Educational Enrichment Committee for a 2-year term, Jessica Bareilles, term expiring in August 2022. And a reappointment to the Community Advisory Committee to a 2-year term, Diane Dietz, term expiring August 2022.
Ryan.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Wu.
Aye.
And Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
All right, carries unanimously, and we will thank them when we see them. And next, we have public comments. This is the time the mayor and council like to hear from anybody who'd like to speak on any topic other than a public meeting. And tonight we have, I'm sorry, not public meeting, public hearing. Tonight we have no public hearings. So basically 3 minutes to talk about whatever you'd like. And I would invite our tech team to run their instructional video on how to raise hands.
Good evening. If you've connected to the meeting tonight via Zoom and you're on a desktop or a laptop and you wish to make a public comment, we can't currently see or hear you. What you need to do, please, is wiggle your mouse around and look towards the bottom center of your screen. You should see a raise hand button. Go ahead and click on that now for us, please. Alternatively, if you've connected in via telephone, you can press *9.
Great. I see one hand up so far. Tech team, if you could bring up Kevin Rogers, that'd be great. And Kevin, once you come up, just unmute yourself, state your name, and go right ahead with your testimony.
Sorry, I was evidently I was muted. I apologize. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Go ahead, Kevin.
Thanks. I think you all know my thoughts and feelings about the item concerning Lake Forest Mall. I really just want to boil it down to one point for you. As you all know, the anchors at the Lake Forest Mall across the country have had thousands of corporate layoffs, not just store layoffs, but corporate layoffs. Among the employees in the corporate departments not laid off, are the real estate folks, the real estate managers and directors who are charged with dealing with, monetizing, leasing, or otherwise selling the currently vacant stores, of which there are hundreds across the country. Respectfully, I contend to you that you're being asked to make a very difficult bet or a gamble, one in which the odds are meaningful. And that is the justification that was given to you last week by staff, that the risk associated with an anchor merely filing for an application to do something for which the anchor knows they cannot do, namely build anything outside the walls of their stores, versus the actions of an anchor which they are charged with doing. The real estate managers and directors that are still employed by those publicly held companies are charged with monetizing, disposing, or otherwise leasing their stores is a much greater risk. And if only one of those anchors were to lease their store long-term for even $0, if they could rent it for no money, if it were an occupant of that store that could come in and just merely pay their taxes, insurance, and expenses, they would stem the bleeding at that one location, of which they have hundreds, and they are actively out across the country trying to do that now. Now, I know when each of those anchors was notified by the city, late last week, in one instance, after 4 o'clock last Friday, one anchor has still yet to be notified by the city. I was somewhat surprised to hear today by the city that there's no requirement to even notify any of the property owners that you're considering putting a moratorium in place for a year. It's my contention that if a moratorium is passed, it'll significantly impede our ability to acquire those anchors. And the results of the bad side of that bet, that gamble, would be more long-lasting and more damaging than the supposed risk and justification that you were given by staff. Thanks. And I'll certainly be here throughout this to answer any questions you may have as the agenda item comes up. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Do we have anybody else who'd like to speak this evening? Again, use the Zoom raise hand feature, or if you're, I don't think I see anybody on phones, but if you are on a phone, *9, I believe. Okay, going once, going twice. I guess that's what we got for public comments. We will now go into from the mayor and city council, and we will start with Councilmember Harris.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. First, I have an announcement. After a closed executive session, a closed meeting was held virtually by the mayor and city council on Monday, August 10th, 2020 at approximately 9 p.m. pursuant to a motion adopted unanimously. The meeting was proposed to be closed pursuant to the general provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, section 305B1I, the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of employees, appointees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction. The topic discussed was a personnel matter to conduct the city attorney's annual review. Present at the meeting were Mayor Ashman, council members Harris, Sales, Sesma, Spiegel, and Wu. Staff present was City Attorney Board, who left at 10:07 p.m. Upon conclusion of the discussion, the closed meeting was adjourned at approximately 10:14 p.m. So I'll keep my remarks brief. I just attended several events that I wanted to share with you folks. The Democratic Business Council of Maryland had an event this month with guest speaker was the State Comptroller Peter Franchot. If you're not familiar with what the Comptroller's office does, they're basically the tax collectors for the state. As tax collectors go, Peter seems to be one of the nicer ones, and we had a really interesting conversation. I was glad he was able to join us. There was some good give and take. The other, I attended a Leadership Montgomery meeting to help schedule and set up the program in this virtual environment, very different than before. Also, I want to give a shout out to the new incoming classes for the Leadership Montgomery program. As many of you who are in attendance know, I attended the program along with Councilmember Wu. Lorianne Sales is an alum. as well. It's a great program that really gives you a good background and context within the county. There are 3 separate groups. There's the Emerging Leaders Program for the younger folks, the core program, and then there's the senior program for folks who are later in their careers or retiring. Anyway, expect great things from the members of the incoming class. And that's it for tonight for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. We'll move on to Mike.
Well, I don't have much to add other than congratulations to employee Denise Mornini, who retired last week. Thank you for her years of service. Also, I want to mention, as most people know by now, the city has canceled some upcoming events that usually mark the beginning of fall. The first one is the Labor Day Parade. It happens on Labor Day through the streets of Old Town. And so that will be offered as a virtual event. And then also Oktoberfest has been canceled as well. Oktoberfest in the Kentlands and Lakelands has been canceled. So I know everybody looks forward to these things, but right now I think the safest thing to do is figure out how to enjoy these things virtually or in much smaller groups than we normally have in those events. The other event that I've mentioned before is the Kentlands Lakelands 5K, which is on Labor Day weekend. This year it is going to be run as a virtual event. So you have 5 days in which to complete your 5K. And if you want to register for it or to donate to one of the organizations that the Kentlands Community Foundation has supported along with the city, you can register at kentlandsfoundation.org/annual 5K. That'll allow you to register as a participant in the virtual 5K and perhaps also help out some of our nonprofits that the Kentlands Community Foundation has funded as part of their philanthropic mission. So that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We'll go to Rob Wu.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight, and I'll take you up on the offer sometime.
Thank you, Rob. We'll go to Ryan Spiegel.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one item this evening. I wanted to relay the announcement already made by our city staff earlier in a press release that today, in partnership with the national nonprofit organization Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund, the city of Gaithersburg launched a free financial navigator program which helps residents address critical financial issues that they may be facing as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact that the pandemic has had across our economy. So financial navigators are now available to provide guidance over the phone to help residents access various programs and services to manage things like income disruption and other financial concerns you may be having. The navigators will help residents with one-on-one triage to their personal finances, to identify any immediate action steps that they can do to manage their expenses and maximize their income, and also to make referrals to other services such as food resources, employment opportunities, health and mental health services, and more, which also aligns with our Gaithersburg Cares Hub that I believe our acting city manager is going to talk a bit more about tonight. So the Navigator program here in Gaithersburg is coordinated by the Community Services Division of our Department of Community and Public Relations in partnership with the Housing Initiative Partnership Incorporated. And residents can connect with a navigator by completing a form on our website or by calling 240-805-1890. And the program is really a wonderful enhancement to the robust services and resources that our city programs, the Gaithersburg Financial Wellness Coalition, and of course the Bank on Gaithersburg program, which I'm proud to have spearheaded over 10 years ago, to provide these important services to people who might not have access to or might not have knowledge about the various financial support services both during regular economic times and, of course, during these times of crisis. So we encourage folks to reach out and take advantage of this wonderful free program, which was made possible by this generous grant by the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. So we thank them. And I want to thank all of the city staff in the Community Services Division who work so hard on these types of issues and helped make this program possible. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Ryan. Lori Ann.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Just want to make a few announcements. So last week, I had the pleasure of attending the newly reimagined National League of Cities Constituency Conference. It was on Thursday and Friday. Usually the constituency groups hold conferences, including the National Black Caucus of Local Elected Officials, the Women in Municipal Government, both of which I'm a member of, HELO, which Michael is a member of, and I have another one that is escaping me.
Wimage.
No, I said Wimage.
Oh.
There's one more. So there's one more, quite a few.
Apamo.
What was it?
Apamo.
Thank you. And so they had their conference this weekend. It was really well attended. Usually we are going to different states to meet up and talk about some of the issues that are impacting our communities. And so it was good to be able to see some of the members, even though it's virtually. We covered issues from dealing with the budget during the pandemic, leading during the pandemic, and all of the other issues that communities are facing right now, from police reform to equity. And so really good resources that I hope we can definitely integrate into what we're doing here in the city of Gaithersburg. Today, September 18th, well, tomorrow, the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment. I'm so excited to be chairing the Montgomery County Women's Equality Day Steering Committee this year. And we are excited to have so many events over the next coming days leading up to August 26th. We will have panel discussions with women from all across our state talking about voter rights, and also trivia night to learn more about the suffrage movement. We're going to hear from our young people across the county who are excited about being able to vote in the future and protecting their right to vote. And then moving forward, I'm excited that on a few weeks, September 14th, we will have some interesting items on the agenda. We'll be having a work session that evening, and we'll be looking at some data from the county's racial equity legislation. We'll also be looking at policing data and start discussing ways that we can make improvements of how we do business in the city of Gaithersburg. So hope you'll look out for those details and be sure to tune in and stay engaged. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Lori Ann. I will pick up a little bit where Lori Ann left off. She's to be congratulated for chairing the committee celebrating the 100th anniversary of the right to vote for women. And I will note that the Community Museum, the Gaithersburg Community Museum, is having a series of events with speakers about on the same topic. And they just had one the other day. They had one last week with a lady from the National Park Service, a docent who led a discussion about the suffrage movement, particularly in the state of Maryland. Some mentions of the city of Gaithersburg. It was an outstanding program. I recommend anybody. It's the video is still available. It's on their Community Museum's Facebook page, and it was about a 45 minute program. It was really good. I recommend it. Also wanted to note that the city put out it's something for those of you who've been following us closely. We had this discussion a few weeks ago, but we put out the announcement about our bulk pickup program now going to, instead of your one set day per month, it's going to an on-demand system starting in September. So make sure you go take a look at the news item and the website and understand how it works so you can make it work best for you. And I will note that next week, the Mayor and Council have a work session, Monday, August 24th, regular time, here on Zoom or however you're watching us on YouTube. And we will be hearing a presentation from the Montgomery Planning on the Planning Board draft county subdivision staging policy. This is an important policy for not only for what's going on around us, but also impacts how the county looks at school numbers and deals with clusters and issues that we sometimes get into here in the city of Gaithersburg. So it should be an interesting discussion. And with that, I will turn it over to the acting city manager.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I wanted to kind of highlight that the Gaithersburg Cares Hub is looking for additional donations. If you're not familiar with the Cares Hub, it provides essential health items and food to those recovering at home from COVID-19 and those who are unable to get to the food pantries for distribution sites. It's kind of a unique service. Again, it's looking at those individuals who might not be able to get to some of the regular sites that we have for food distribution. So we're looking for additional donations for that. You can go online at gaithersburgmd.gov to see the list of items that are being requested at this time. There are a couple of different options that you have in providing those. One is actually you can do it online directly from the city's website. You could also have things shipped directly to the Hub's care site. In addition, donations can be dropped off in the front lobby of the Seneca Creek Community Church at 13 First Field Road in Gaithersburg. We also want to make sure that we thank our partners who help us run that, the Seneca Creek Community Church, the CERT volunteers, and a number of donors and supporters over the program that's been going on for the last couple of months. I also wanted to let you know and the public know that the city will be extending the days. The water park facility will be open past our traditional Labor Day closure. With the number of staff either not returning to school or actually attending remotely, we do have the opportunity to extend the pool operations into September. So we'll be making some announcements in the next couple of days regarding that. In addition, we will be expanding the hours of the miniature golf complex also into the fall based upon having additional staffing available for those facilities. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Tech team, if you could bring up Tom Lonergan for the economic development update, that'd be great.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Very briefly, just one item tonight for you all. Wanted to let you know that the property at 704 Quince Orchard Road has officially become 100% leased. You may recall that this 80,000 square foot former Class C office building did languish in the market with low rents and low occupancy for many years. In 2018, the property was acquired through a partnership between Alexandria Real Estate and Shear Partners. The asset was reimagined with ready-to-occupy lab and office spaces for emerging and established life science companies of all sizes. The investment required considerable capital, as well as significant confidence in the city's life science industry. In less than 2 years, the building is filled, and we're obviously thrilled to see how well this venture has turned out for Alexandria, Shear, and for the city. From the beginning, the city committed to supporting 704's prospective tenants with financial support through its distinctive Toolbox program, and I'm proud to see that our investments supporting our partners with successfully transforming an underperforming office asset into a best-in-class biotech center has worked. Further affirmation of the city's eminence as the region's epicenter of the life science industry, and we just wanted to congratulate our partners for realizing this very major milestone. That's all I got.
Thank you, Tom. That is excellent news. Excellent news. Okay, tech team, if you could bring up Jess Kwasny to lead us in our discussion about the resolution on the Fred Felton Neighborhood Matching Grants. That would be great. Welcome, Jess.
Hi, how are you? Good evening, Mayor, Council members. I'm Jess Kwasny, and the Legislative Manager for the City of Gaithersburg, and I am here tonight to announce staff recommendations for the 2021 Frederick J. Felton Neighborhood Matching Grant Program. The matching grant program contributes up to $5,000 to neighborhood associations for improvements to their communities. The funding may be used for projects related to the appearance or safety of their neighborhoods, which can include construction or study costs. Funds may also be used for community events. The application portal opened on May 22nd, and we accepted applications through July 17th. In total, the city received 22 applications, all of which were carefully reviewed by staff from the City Manager's Office and the Planning Code Administration Division. Staff recommends approval of 18 awards totaling $60,000. 4 of the 22 applications did not meet the program criteria. For your review, staff included copies of all of the grant applications. Tonight, with the approval of the council, the awardees will then receive a notification letter outlining the award amount, requirements of the grant, and authorization to proceed with the project or the event. Awardees are reimbursed for project costs after the work has been inspected and itemized receipts are submitted. And I finally just wanted to say a thank you to Tom Lonergan and Kevin Roman, as well as Cindy Hines and Dennis Inslinger for their time and commitment to the Neighborhood Matching Grant Program.
Thank you, Jess, and thanks to all staff who were involved. I know that this is your first year in doing this. For those who don't remember Fred, Fred was our assistant city manager for many years, a good friend for many of us, and he unfortunately, tragically left us too early, but this was a program that was near and dear to his heart. Really appreciated the sort of this very nice partnership that the city has with our HOAs and even with non-HOAs with our communities. So every year, I know for Mike and Ryan and Doris and Lynn, for those of us who knew Fred well, it's a nice tribute to him. So anyway, any questions or comments from the council? Raise your hand if you have anything. Otherwise, raise your hand if you want to make a motion. Ryan.
I would like to move the resolution.
Okay, Lorianne.
Second.
Okay, we will call the roll. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Wu.
Aye.
Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
And Councilmember Sales.
Aye.
Okay, carries unanimously. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And next, I would like to tech team, if you could bring up Sean Stevens and Mark Scafidi. And we are going to talk about authorizing the purchase of 6 new police vehicles. Welcome, Mark and Sean. You guys take it away.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The resolution before you tonight is to authorize the acting city manager to enter into a contract for the purchase of 6 police vehicles. 6 existing marked police vehicles are approaching the end of their useful service life. Due to their age, condition, mileage, and/or reliability, these vehicles were scheduled for replacement in fiscal year 2021. Once these replacement vehicles, 6 marked 2021 Ford Hybrid Police Interceptor utility all-wheel drive vehicles are ready for service, the existing 6 vehicles will be sold at public auction. The Department of Public Works would like to utilize the State of Maryland police vehicle contract, which was awarded on November 18, 2019. Staff recommends utilizing the State of Maryland contract to purchase these 6 vehicles from Hertridge Fleet Services Incorporated in the amount of $218,226. Do you have any questions for us?
Thank you, Sean. Questions or comments? Lorianne, please.
Hi, Sean. Thank you. What happens to the proceeds of the from the sale of the vehicles? Does it go back into our general fund or back into the department?
Back into the general fund, ma'am.
Okay.
Didn't realize I was muted. Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for the presentation. So is this the first cohort of the Interceptor utility hybrids?
No, sir. We bought 4 in fiscal year 2020. They're on order presently, but they have not come in yet.
No, okay. So but these aren't the first ones we've replaced, though. I assume that we're pretty happy with this type of vehicle. I know we've made a change to the SUV, so.
We're happy with the SUVs, but these hybrids are the first one. We haven't received any of the hybrids yet, so we don't really have any working data on the hybrids yet.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I'll move the resolution.
Okay, Neil?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. I'll call the roll. Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma?
Aye.
Councilmember Wu?
Aye.
Councilmember Spiegel?
Aye.
Councilmember Sales?
Aye.
Okay, carries unanimously. Thank you guys very much. Next, we have, we're going to bring up Tony Berger, tech team, please, who's going to talk to us about traffic signal upgrades for the intersection of Oden Hall and Russell Avenue. Welcome, Tony.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. The resolution I actually have 3 resolutions to run through here with you. So the first one begins on packet page 149. This resolution is asking for authorization for the acting city manager to enter into a construction contract for signal upgrades at the intersection of Oden Hall and Russell Avenue. As many of you are aware, over the course of last year, Engineering Services had a consultant evaluate the 7 signals that we own in the city. As a result of that evaluation, then our group went through that information and prioritized the implementation of the results of that study. So what we have before you tonight is actually our number 2 priority. The number 1 priority in the city was actually at Brooks and Summit, which we started working on a little bit before this one, but it had some additional right-of-way information or right-of-way needs that actually slowed it down. So this one is making it to the construction stage just a little bit quicker. We will be coming back in just a few weeks with Brooks and Summit to get that one headed towards construction. So as part of our implementation here, we're recommending that we enter into a contract with Baldwin Line Services of Maryland. They actually are the contractor currently working with Montgomery County. Montgomery County owns or operates all the signals. Montgomery County DOT operates all the signals in the county. Baldwin Line Construction has offered to extend the city the same pricing that they are currently utilizing with the Montgomery County contract. So we'll be able to enter into our own contract with them, our own terms and conditions by utilizing their bid pricing. At this intersection, this is going to be a complete replacement of the existing mast poles. If tech team, if you could bring up the additional item we added earlier today. This item is not in your packet, but we did want to point out that through the course of our design, and actually prior to us taking this on, it was brought to the attention the need for the dedicated left turn phase from southbound Russell Avenue onto eastbound Oden Hall. So as a result of this project, we'll actually be adding protected phases to both the left turn phases of Russell Avenue. As you can see in this diagram, the item in yellow, as we worked through the design, we were able to get Montgomery County to install an additional signal head so that we could have the protected phase before we actually completed our upgrade of this signal. So the phase in yellow actually exists today, and as a result of this signal, we'll also be adding the protected phase that you see indicated by the blue arrow there. Essentially, that gives all left turns at this intersection a protected phase, and it's going to greatly improve the safety and functionality at this intersection. Thank you, tech team. So as we evaluate our items for this in line with the contract pricing extended from Baldwin, we arrive at an anticipated contract price of $424,100. Funding is available in the capital improvement program, and staff recommends that we enter into this contract.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate the illustration too. I was curious when I looked at the package how this would actually look in practice. And over the years, I know I'm pretty sure all the council members and I have heard from neighbors, particularly at Asbury, with concerns about that intersection. And this, I believe, should go a long way to addressing it. So I'm excited. I'm more excited about this left turn arrow than I would normally be. Any questions or comments from the council? Not seeing any hands. Does someone want to move the resolution? Rob Wu.
Mr. Mayor, I'm really excited about the left turn arrow as well. And so I'll move the resolution.
Ryan.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. I'll call the roll. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma. Oh, you froze up on us, Councilmember Sesma. Councilmember Wu. We'll come back to Mike.
Aye.
Aye.
I heard a mic from Mike. I heard an aye from Mike. Okay, Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
Councilmember Sales.
Aye.
Okay, that carries unanimously. Tony, what do you have for us next? Quince Orchard Boulevard.
Next, we have Quince Orchard Boulevard. I know that you are all very familiar with the background of how we got where we are today. A lot of that information is included in the packet. What we have here is we're ready to move forward with the design phase to develop construction drawings for this project. If you could turn to packet page number 285, tech team. This gives us an overview of the overall project that we're going to implement. The lines in red show where we're actually going to construct a shared use path, which I think is one of the bigger focal points for this project. The project also includes a complete reconstruction of Quince Orchard Boulevard. If we could move on down to packet page 289. This is a cross-section view. The figure in the top shows the existing cross-section where you see we have 70 feet total of right-of-way with 48 feet of roadway width curb to curb. And what we're proposing is a slight reduction in the roadway down to 42 feet so that we can add the additional width to a shared use path. And this would be the general configuration throughout the corridor. It utilizes some of the existing sidewalk area, and then as we get down below Brown School and move out towards Diamond Drive, we'll be installing more of a new path off to the side through that section. If we could turn to packet page 292. This shows the cross section that we also want to extend the shared use path portion back from Quince Orchard Boulevard to Rabbit Road to tie in at Robertson Park Youth Center. So we'll be utilizing some of the existing sidewalk width there to make that connection. Thank you, tech team. Earlier this spring, we received proposals from a number of different consultants. We evaluated those proposals, and we bring forward to you today a recommendation to enter into a contract with Wallace Montgomery and Associates. Their bid proposal was that they demonstrated the best technical and price proposal. Their price, as you can see, came in at just under $390,000. Funding was budgeted for the project at $425,000. So funding is available in the capital improvement program, and we recommend moving forward with this contract.
Thank you, Tony. If this is approved, what do you anticipate the construction schedule to be?
I'm going to anticipate us being designed in about 16 to 18 months, and then the construction of the project to follow. I would estimate that it'll take about one complete construction season. So 18 months puts us into spring of 2023, I believe.
Correct.
So it would be my hope that we would hit it hard coming right out the gate and be able to complete it in 2023.
Thank you. Any other questions? Neil, go ahead.
So thank you for the presentation. Remembering what we looked at before, this looks like a real improvement in terms of being less disruptive to traffic and bus stops and things like that. It'll be much more usable. It's a shame that we can't move ahead with a true protected bike path, but it just was too disruptive. So glad to see this. Is this project, once it's completed in terms of engineering, and you go forward with construction, is it going to have a significant impact on the cost of doing the other work that was planned for that road?
I would say that the shared use path pretty much doubles the cost of the project. Our planning level estimate at this point is about $3.1 million. So it's about 1.6 in shared use path and the remainder in reconstruction of Quince Orchard Boulevard.
That seems like a big piece for a shared use path. Why is it that high?
I can give you some background on that. So if we don't move forward with the reconstruction effort the two portions kind of act together. The shared use path, because we have to realign the curb line and basically move into the section of roadway, there's a significant impact to the roadway itself. The reconstruction effort is mostly like, the curb and gutter improvements and the sidewalk improvements, but the additional components that we have to include with the stormwater management aspects and the overall length of the project, it does add additional costs to the overall costs for the project.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Rob and then Mike. Go ahead, Rob.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. My understanding, recollection is that there's going to be significant removal of moderately aged trees on this project. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so do we have let's call it community engagement plan? We've had sensitivities with respect to the removal of foliage in other areas of the city. And some folks might look at this and see large trees coming down, and they might be concerned about that, not knowing that the reason is because there's the disruption of the root systems to the infrastructure. And I think there were some comments about the age of the trees and the condition of the trees as well. I would like to know if there's going to be a community engagement plan on that issue and the entire project as a whole, but specifically incorporating that element.
Absolutely, there will be. The plan has not been developed at this point. As we go through preliminary engineering, we'll begin to map out that plan so that we can have the details to share with the community that, as that are going to be accurate to the project.
Mike.
Yeah, I wasn't actually going to bring up the trees, but since you did, Rob, we've actually talked about this for quite a long time. Those trees are about 50 years old now. They were planted in space that wasn't large enough to accommodate that type of growth. And they'd have to come out anyway, whether we rebuilt the street or not. So they're tearing up the sidewalks, they're tearing up the curbs, they're tearing up the street. So it's unfortunate that that this was a consequence of letting them go for so long before we did anything. But I think I'm glad that there's going to be some community engagement on this. These trees do provide some really nice shade along that street, along Quince Orchard Boulevard. But there's no option here. They have to come out. in order to, they would have to come out regardless. And I think that's, the city has done quite a bit in order to repair sidewalks and curbs to accommodate the growth of the trees for this long, but it's unfortunate that they're just going to have to come out. I was going to raise a question about the crosswalks and a new shared use path at Quince Orchard and First Field at the end towards Clopper. I guess that's the north end. And I see one crosswalk that is going to cross First Field when there should probably be two if we look at the habit of people who cross that intersection to go from along residences along Quince Orchard Boulevard to the shopping center there. And I believe there really needs to be two crosswalks crossing First Field there from either side of Quince Orchard. Right now, I only see one on the plan, so I'd like to hear more about that and why that wasn't planned at the beginning. I think, you know, the behavior of humans is to take a path of the shortest path possible. So if you watch people at this intersection and how they cross the street there, you'll see where most of them cross, and it's not where you're putting the new shared use path. So I'd like to hear some more about that going forward. That's about it. Other than that, you know, I'm ready to see this move forward.
In terms of the crosswalks, the locations for those actually aren't ironed out just yet. Again, we'll work through those items. We have a lot of the background information from many of the previous discussions. I believe we've had that feedback from Mayor and Council provided previously. Mm-hmm. We included that as part of our request for proposals, and we'll be working through those things with our consultant as we go through the preliminary engineering of the project. And we can certainly keep you up to date with those decisions as they're made.
Okay, great. I look forward to hearing that.
Yep, me too. Tony, for the record, I agree entirely with what Mike just said about the two crosswalks. Anybody else, or does someone want to make the motion here? Lori Ann Sales.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move the resolution authorizing the acting city manager to award an engineering contract for Quince Orchard Boulevard roadway reconstruction and design of a shared use path.
Neil.
Second.
Okay, I will call the roll. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Wu.
Aye.
Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
Councilmember Sales.
Aye.
Okay, carries unanimously. Next, Tony, you and Mark again.
Thank you so much again. The next item for resolution is very similar. This is for authorization for the acting city manager to enter into a contract regarding the low stress bicycle connection at Washingtonian Boulevard. Tech team, if you could pull up packet page 308, please. This is our overall graphic that shows 1,600 feet of 10-foot wide path, making the connection from Sam Ike Highway Bridge to Rio Boulevard. Again, we've arrived at this, I'll call it alignment, this section, based on previous input and feedback from Mayor and Council. If we could go to packet page 309, tech team. Similarly, here's the cross section that shows a shared use path, and the difference between the two is one particular section of this is going to require us to construct, or actually reconstruct, the retaining wall that's along there. So if we turn to packet page 310, this connection to Rio Boulevard represents no impacts to the existing parking, minimal impacts to the travel lanes. It is a little bit shorter than originally. I think that originally what was thought about going the whole way, the length of it, but it does make the connection at Rio Boulevard. Some things that we have to work through as part of our design on this is going to be some of the ground is owned by Montgomery County. So there's going to be agency coordination with Montgomery County and SHA as we cross Hammock Highway. Our primary schedule drivers for this project are going to be that right-of-way acquisition and construction easement coordination. And current cost estimate for this project is $1.2 million. As we move to packet page 311, just for clarity, again, we're looking at the design being completed next calendar year and construction to begin in 2023. This project should easily, again, be constructed in just one construction season. Earlier this year, Engineering Services we put out a request for proposals. We received proposals from a number of consultants again. And as we did our evaluations for this project, Dewberry Engineers is the recommended award for this contract. Their bid came in at $399,000. Again, they demonstrated a clear understanding of the project. We think they'll do a great job for us. Funding is available in the capital improvement program. We budgeted $400,000. The bids came in just under. So we recommend moving forward with this design.
Thank you, Tony. Neil, go ahead.
So once again, I compliment you on the improvements to the plan. The last time we looked at it, there was significant disruption to the flow of traffic. I think we were going to lose a lane of traffic, and since there's a bus route, that could be problematic in terms of buses stopping and backing up traffic. So I'm very pleased by the change in the. I'm a little surprised that it didn't change the cost of the project, but regardless, I think it's a good thing going forward. And on that basis, I'd like to move the resolution.
Okay, Rob Wu.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is a much more measured plan that was presented to us before, and so I'll second it.
All right, I happen to agree. Any more comments before we take the vote? Not seeing
yeah.
any? Okay, Mike.
It does seem to be a lot lower stress. It raises a lot less stress for me looking at it now. So I think this is a little bit better plan. So thanks for the improvements from staff to staff.
All right. That said, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. I will call the roll. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Wu.
Aye.
Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
And Councilmember Sales.
Aye.
Okay, carries unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Tony.
Next, tech team, if you could bring up John Schlichting. Talk about our map designation exercise at Lake Forest. And Tom Lonergan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This resolution begins on packet page 312. It is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council to declare a moratorium on the filing of zoning map amendments or development applications, requests, and petitions requiring preliminary or final plans of subdivision pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 20, Subdivision, and Chapter 24, Zoning of the Gaithersburg City Code for the parcels comprising the Lake Forest Mall property for a period not to exceed 12 months. To undertake planning studies and public engagement resulting in a land use master plan map designation and amendment to the City of Gaithersburg Comprehensive Plan. So staff is seeking approval tonight of this resolution, which will expire no later than August 18th, 2021. This resolution is in accordance with the guidance Council provided to staff during the August 10th work session regarding Lake Forest Mall next steps. The moratorium would apply to the filing of applications, requests, and petitions effective upon the date of adoption of this resolution. The moratorium is requested in order for the city to complete a master plan amendment for the Lake Forest Mall map designation that reflects a holistic vision for any future redevelopment application. I am happy to answer questions tonight, and I know that Lynn, Tom, Sharon, and Rob are also available as well.
Thank you very much, John. We discussed this at great length last week during our work session, and I remain convinced that by engaging in this exercise, the deliverable will yield more certainty for the developer and for people who are considering financing a development in terms of what would be acceptable to this body and to our residents. So I believe that that our staff's recommendation here is a good one and worth our consideration. So who'd like to speak on it from the council? Lori Ann Sales.
Thank you, Mayor. I would agree. I think with the current economic situation that we're in, there's so much uncertainty, and I think now's a good time to really hone in on the shared vision between the community, the city, our master planning. And so I think this will be some time well spent clarifying what the future of this area will look like, this important area of our city. So thank you for the recommendation.
Thank you. Rob Wu.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I couldn't find my mouse there. Just wanted to say that I appreciate all the work that staff put into this. It really shows that the recommendation is solidly based, and I especially appreciate the work that staff put into after the last work session and before today, trying to address some of the concerns that I had raised in the prior work session. I wholly support the map redesignation process. I think it's appropriate for the times and our inability to engage in a more thorough process. But I think that it adds clarity to the development in this area. But I remain unconvinced that the associated moratorium is necessary. I still believe that the development agreement can be drafted in such a way as to protect the city's interests, but also to permit the stated concern of WRS and their ongoing efforts to raise capital to ultimately assemble the mall property. So even though I appreciate staff's effort and their recommendations, and I wholly support the map redesignation process that is being afforded, I'm going to be voting against the resolution today because I don't believe the moratorium is necessary.
Thanks, Rob. Who'd like to speak on this next? Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As others have said, we've had extensive public conversations on this already. Many, if not all of us, have also had extensive one-on-one conversations with staff, with WRS representatives, with each other to talk through the various alternatives. And I think whatever the outcome of tonight's vote, I feel confident that our council has really taken this extremely seriously, as we do with everything, and really tried to weigh the impacts of the various alternatives in as responsible a way as we can. No one has a crystal ball into the future, but we are trying to make a responsible decision about what is in the best interest of the city in the long term. And I want to revisit, even though I know it's been said before, I think it bears repeating as we're about to have a vote on this. The word moratorium is a loaded word in the mind of developers and the public sometimes. But the word moratorium is also a legal term of art in land use and zoning. And in this particular case, really the proposed moratorium is not the kind of moratorium that you would see in other situations in the classic sense where people are trying to stop or slow development. In fact, ironically, the intent of this proposed moratorium is a short-term pause on activities that might be considered not full-fledged redevelopment to the best and highest use of the map designation area that might really become obstacles to future bigger redevelopment. So the irony here is that, as I understand it, the intent of this short-term moratorium in conjunction with our map designation and amendment process is an attempt to ensure that after this next year of public engagement and map designation process, we will be able to invite a bigger, bolder, denser redevelopment of the mall area than we otherwise might risk if we don't have the moratorium, because of the possibility that some property owners in that area may try to take actions in the interim that could prevent that bigger, bolder development from happening. So it's a little confusing, it's a little counterintuitive, but I want members of the public to be very clear on the idea here that even though the word moratorium is sometimes misunderstood as a scary word, in this particular case, it's actually being proposed as a way to ensure denser, better, more modern mixed-use development on the mall site in the not too distant future. We're talking about a moratorium of a maximum of 12 months. And my understanding is that if sufficient progress is made before then, both with the mall core owners' attempts to secure ownership of the anchors, and with the process that the city is going to undertake with respect to the map designation, we certainly have the prerogative to lift the moratorium in less than 12 months. And that's, to me, is a very real possibility depending on how all this plays out. Really, the purpose is to prevent intervening plans from being submitted by any of the property owners because those intervening plans require by law that the city take certain actions in response, and they could really, as I've said before, gum up the works of a potential map designation and amendment process that could allow for this bigger, bolder, broader, denser redevelopment that we really want to see across the entire property. The reciprocal easement agreement that we've talked about a lot that exists between the 5 owners of the properties on the mall does not give the owner of the core veto authority over the ability of anchor store owners to be able to submit these types of plans under the existing zoning to the city, and therefore doesn't allow the owner of the core to prevent these submissions that might trigger these kinds of problems that would gum up the works for a map designation and amendment process over the next 12 months. Again, we have legal obligations to fairly respond to every proposed plan that is submitted by a property owner. And so without a moratorium, we would subject ourselves to incredible risk that we wouldn't be able to proceed. Now, maybe it's possible that none of the anchors would submit such a plan in the intervening 12 months, but we don't have any guarantee. And the existing agreements, and I believe even an attempted renegotiation of the agreement, of the development agreement with the core owner, probably would not give us any additional powers beyond what exists now, either on the part of the owner of the core or on the part of the city to prevent other changes to the anchors. And so I don't think we can get much additional ability to prevent that kind of planning activity or other development activity on the anchor properties beyond what we've had. And at this point, after a year of trying, I've said before, I salute WRS. I think their intentions are good, but we just haven't been able to make it happen. And if we were to try to re-engage negotiations over a brand new development agreement, more time would tick by and we wouldn't be able to proceed and make progress with the map designation and amendment without taking on those risks that I talked about earlier. I am rooting for the success of WRS and all involved in this project, but I believe that sophisticated lenders in the commercial real estate world who may be investing in transformative mixed-use development will do their due diligence and will not automatically, viscerally run away when they hear the word moratorium without fully understanding the context in which we're talking about the word moratorium here. So given all of that, and given the need to really advance the ball, and given that, even the owner of the core has said that they support the map designation and amendment process, which hopefully will unlock the ability to do better mixed use projects on that site and hopefully even increase the value of that site, I think, in the end. I support the staff recommendation and prepared to move forward with the proposal. So that's where I stand, and I'm happy to have further discussion about it. But it wasn't an easy conclusion, and I want Councilmember Wu to know that I looked really carefully at his suggestion and talked with a number of people about it to try and see if it made sense. But ultimately, to me, I just felt that the risks there versus the potential rewards, the calculation didn't play out.
Thank you, Ryan. Neil, go ahead, and then Mike.
Sure, thanks. So I agree with basically everything that Ryan just said about this process, and I'd like to just make a couple of additional points. One is that this process is up to a year. It doesn't have to take the entire year. To some extent, we're in this situation because of the very unexpected circumstances that I'm sure everyone is aware of, that COVID hit and the global economy took a turn for the worse, and things are just not moving forward. And if we'd had known this was coming a year ago, we would have taken a different direction and we'd be through this process. It just seems to me that the chances of a definitive agreement between the various parties and the banks being closed anytime soon in the next 6 months or more even at this point is very, very unlikely. I wouldn't root against it. I would certainly be very pleased if WRS and the various parties came back to us with a happy conclusion to this process. And as Ryan said, I believe that in that circumstance, we would look very favorably on that and end the moratorium and move forward. But at any rate, I think the process is likely to lead us in a much better direction that provides clarity, which is what all developers tell us is the most important factor, because it gives them certainty that they can tell to the various partners they need to bring in, and result in a much better end state for this property, whatever that decision turns out to be. So I will vote in favor of the resolution.
Thank you, Neil. Mike, go ahead.
Okay, well, I knew if I waited for Ryan, I would save a lot of words tonight. So I appreciate his very comprehensive and relatively brief summation of the situation, which I totally agree with. And I really appreciate that, Ryan, because you laid out a number of things that I think you can do much better than anybody else on this council. So, I want to say that this isn't the first rodeo that the city has been to, nor this council has participated in terms of development and looking at and having a larger vision of projects and how they fit within the context of the city and the context of where we're moving in terms of mixed use development and creating new communities. I think it's important to have a single vision for this map designation that will actually perhaps stimulate the type of investment that we want to see from developers as well as those who would finance those developments. And I think that any entity that's ready to finance something like this is going to look very carefully and do their due diligence in terms of what the city's track record has been with these kinds of projects and what our vision has been for how they fit in. And certainly there are enough developers in the region that are familiar with the successful communities that have occurred in the city within the last 25 years. So, for those reasons and the idea that, in this respect, and I think what's very important that Ryan laid it out, is that this is not a moratorium to stop things and put a freeze on them for a long period of time, as we've seen with other moratoriums in the region. This is one that I think has the potential to create greater opportunity for the appropriate type of investment that we want to see in creating a new neighborhood, a new community, and a new set of projects that kind of are well connected by a thread of mixed use and best use for this type of property. It might be one of the last types of properties within the county where this could happen. And I think we need to optimize our opportunities here. I think the moratorium allows us to do that. I certainly appreciate the analysis, the thorough analysis that staff has provided. I appreciate very much that WRS has, decided to invest in our city and our community. And I think in the long run, this will work out in the best way for them as well. I think Neil's point is that we could have done this. We could have started this process months ago, perhaps a year ago, and we'd be in a better position than we are now. But this is where we are. I'm hoping that we don't go to the full duration or extent of the 12-month period of the moratorium, but I think we have to be prepared to accept that and hope that the outcome of it and our study in this region and of this map designation and what it is going to become is one that we all agree will optimize the use of this land here for the benefit of the city, for the benefit of the new residents and businesses of that property, and for the benefit of all of the adjacent property owners, whether they're in the city or in the county. So I will support the resolution.
You want to just move the resolution, Mike?
I will move it. I guess it is a resolution, right? Yes,
Yeah.
I will move the resolution.
Do we have a second? Ryan?
Second.
Okay, I will call the roll. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma?
Aye.
Councilmember Wu?
No instead of nay. Either way, nay, no.
Why do you have to make it more complicated? Councilmember Spiegel?
Aye.
Councilmember Sales?
Aye.
Okay, that carries 4-1 with Councilmember Wu voting against. Thank you all very much. Tech team, if you could bring up Deb Moran and Mary Travellini so we can go into policy discussion on the pesticide regulation. And again, to all staff who are involved in the recommendations on Lake Forest and helping lead us through there, we're very, very grateful. Deb, take it away.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and City Council. On June 15th, 2020, the Mayor and City Council voted to introduce an ordinance to amend Chapter 2-6 of the City Code entitled Exemptions from Montgomery County Legislation and Regulation within the City to include Chapter 33B of the Montgomery County Code entitled Pesticide Regulation. A public hearing regarding the ordinance was held on July the 6th. During the meeting, 8 people testified in favor of the ordinance. The Mayor and City Council resolved to leave the record open until July the 29th at 5 p.m. 12 comments were submitted for the record, all in favor of opting into the ordinance. The ordinance would limit the use of pesticides for cosmetic purposes or when the benefit of use outweighs the risk as defined. And it would also require establishments to sell pesticides to post information regarding the law. Montgomery County's Department of Environmental Protection would be responsible for the enforcement and education of the law. Staff recommend opting into the law to support the decreased use of pesticides effective December 1st, 2020. The Public Works Operations staff adopted a policy for pesticide application that aligns with and expands upon the goals of the county's ordinance. In addition, the Environmental Services staff with Stormwater staff has expanded the scope of the Rainscapes Reward Program to include rebates for soil testing to further promote the initiative. More information about these initiatives is in the supporting materials of this packet, and of course, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about them.
Deb, thanks to you, thanks to Mary for leading us through this process. I also want to thank our Environmental Affairs Committee for their recommendations and thoughtful guidance. To me, this makes sense to support for a couple of main reasons. One, because it aligns with our longstanding environmental, our desire to be good stewards for the environment and our tradition of doing just that. And also because of simplicity. It makes sense for the county to have, for the rules and regulations to be the same throughout the county It's much easier to understand for residents and for the professional applicators. And so to me, it just makes sense on every level. Council members who'd like to speak on this first. Rob Wu.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'll just say I agree with everything you just said, word for word. Thank you.
Ryan Spiegel.
Ditto.
I am 2 for 2 so far. Mike Sesma.
Sorry to bust the streak. I generally support what you had to say, Mayor. I do agree. But as I've noted before, I'm more concerned about enforcement and consequences of violations. I don't think that this law actually does much about that. In that respect, it's more feel good than anything else. Nonetheless, I think it does align with our priorities in terms of environmental practices and safety of the public and care of the community. So I will support that. I will continue to ask questions about enforcement and consequences of violations as we move along. And then perhaps maybe in a year, we could get an update from staff on how that's going. I'm glad to see the additional aspects in terms of soil testing and the Rainscapes program in this. I think that's a nice addition, and it puts our own Gaithersburg flavor as part of this. So thank you to staff, and thank you to the Environmental Affairs Committee for doing that as well. So thanks.
Lorianne.
Thank you, Mayor. So we've been talking about pesticides and whether or not we should opt in for quite some time. And so I'm glad that we finally found a way to bring this to the city. As far as the regulation aspects of this goes, that goes without saying that that's going to be a difficult journey. And so I hope that we will be kept abreast of those developments, and we will be here to assist in any way to help strengthen that effort.
Thank you, Lorianne. Neil?
So while I support opting in, I tend to be more with Mike on this. I do appreciate the improvements to the program. The Rainscapes and soil testing seem like great steps forward. I'm not convinced entirely that this pesticide program of the counties is really going to accomplish what it needs to accomplish, but I'm sure that as we go forward, if we see that it needs strengthening, we can take this back and do more. So I would be happy to move the resolution if it's time.
It's actually an ordinance. Move the ordinance.
I'll move the ordinance.
Okay, do we have a second? Rob Wu.
I'll second the ordinance.
Okay, all right. All in favor say aye, any opposed say nay. I will call the roll. Councilmember Harris.
Isn't ordinance a military term for ammunition?
That's a different spelling.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I say aye.
Okay. Councilmember Sesma.
I will vote aye on the motion to approve the ordinance.
Okay. Councilmember Wu.
Aye.
Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
Councilmember Sales.
Aye.
Okay, carries unanimously. Thank you again, ladies. It's
you
been
very
a process. We appreciate it. Next, we're going to move to staff guidance, and the next for the record on 700 North Frederick. I would just like to invite a motion to close the record. The applicant has sent in a letter withdrawing their application. So at this point, all we need is to close the record. Ryan.
Move to close the record.
Lorianne.
Mr. Mayor, we don't really need to close the record because they withdrawn the application. We just
Oh,
need to acknowledge their withdrawal.
Doesn't
Okay,
it
they're
automatically?
withdrawn then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well then thank
Withdraw
you.
my motion.
And Lorianne was going to second. She withdraws her intent to second. Okay. Then We have before us, if we could bring up Jasmine Forbes, please, a request to extend the record on the Duval crematorium application. Jasmine, do you want to explain that?
Good evening. So staff's before you to requesting to extend the record for concept site plan SP-8415-2020 until 5 p.m. on September 16th, 44 days with anticipated policy discussion and final action on October 5th. In the packet, there's a letter from the applicant requesting to extend the record to allow additional time to conduct outreach with the community. And staff has also received correspondence from community members requesting to extend the record for 60 days. Staff's opinion that the 44 days is adequate time to keep the record open and is in line with other records for concept site plans. And I'm available to any questions you may have this evening.
What is the pleasure of the council?
Oh, I had a quick question for Jasmine. Will staff be working with Duval to conduct the engagement with the community or assist with the engagement, or do we know what that will entail?
So the outreach will just be organized by Duval Funeral Home. Well, staff will attend just to be there just in case if they have questions about the site plan process. But it's not organized by city staff.
It's best that way, Lorianne, because I don't want it to appear that it's our plan. Yeah.
But I'm glad that staff will be there if there are technical questions for city.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So the recommendation is that we hold the record open until 5 p.m. September 16th. What is the pleasure of the council? Lorianne.
Mayor, I'd like to move the motion to hold the record open on SP 8415-2020 to request for a concept site plan to expand the Duval Funeral Home services.
Okay, and you agree with the recommendation till September 16th?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Mike. Mike, you're muted.
I will second the motion.
Okay, then I will call the roll. All in favor say aye, any opposed say nay. Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma?
Aye.
Councilmember Wu?
Aye.
Councilmember Spiegel?
Aye.
Councilmember Sayles?
Aye.
Okay, consider the record extended. Next, we have from the city attorney. Thank you, Jasmine, by the way.
I just have one quick update this evening. I wanted to let you know that we are continuing to work with the Montgomery County Board of Elections on the upcoming general election. They did submit recommendations to Governor Hogan of Tuesday last week, and we're scheduled to meet with them later this week to talk about the use of the activity center. Currently, the proposal would be to change early voting to October 26th through November 2nd, and that the activity center be an early voting place for that, or polling place for the early voting. It would also be consistent with what we did with the primary. There would be a ballot drop box also installed at the activity center. There is also a proposal to, in addition to all the regular places, polling places, also use the activity center as a voting place on election day itself. But we hope to have a little bit more details after we meet with the County Board of Elections on Thursday this week, and we'll keep you updated.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Go ahead, Neil.
I'd just like to request that staff take a look at the flow of vehicles during the election period to make sure that we don't end up with bottlenecks. I remember a couple of years ago, unfortunately, we had a scheduled paper shredding event that really backed things up and made it hard for people to vote. Obviously, we're not going to do that again, but in general, coming around into that loop through the front of the building is sometimes problematic. So perhaps we can look at alternatives to make sure that we keep the traffic moving.
And certainly the staff at the Activity Center has been involved in the discussions with the county. So as we finalize the agreement with the county, we're looking at all options also to ensure that the election is conducted safely.
Yeah, that's first and foremost on my mind. Frankly, I hope the governor will reconsider his decision, but that's just me. I just feel like I can't believe we're still trying to do an in-person election here. That said, enough of my political opinion here. I will remind everyone that we have a work session next week with Montgomery Planning on the draft county subdivision staging policy. And that will be Monday, August 24th, regular time, 7:30 p.m. And until next time, let's do great things, Gaithersburg. We are adjourned.